Quarterback or coach has to answer for it.
Right.
Goff, Campbell. Listen, I'm not firing Dan Campbell already. I might be shipping Goff. I don't know, but I think the Lions. Again, it's week 1. Are we overreacting? I think the panic meter in Detroit is blaring. I think people are wondering, when do the Pistons start?
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Craig Mish back with you. It's our Monday edition, post another week in the National Football League and, of course, college football to review as well. Great to be back with you here after a wild weekend of NFL games, to say the very least. Some crazy college finishes as well. We'll get to that. We'll also be joined by Jacob Kamaker of Sporting News. He'll go over USA Today. He'll give us the very latest, what's going on in the NFL. Of course, our SportsGrid insider Adam Kaplan is with us. We've got Donnie Rightside and a whole bunch more guests. So stick with us throughout the program. We've got the best recap in the business on this Monday. But in order for me to give that all to you, I got to get started. So let's start the show off now, because a lot happened yesterday. All right, the first piece of news of the day is the worst piece of news of the day in the National Football League, especially if you're a Bengals fan. Joe Burrow, who left the game against the Jaguars very early yesterday, will need to have toe surgery. That's going to sideline him, folks, for 3 months. And if indeed that is the case, that's the season pretty much. So don't expect to see Joe Burrow on the field. It'll be the Jake Browning show, at least for the time being. Browning was pretty good yesterday, by the way. A couple of touchdowns, threw a couple of picks. But the bigger story, of course, is one of the greatest quarterbacks going right now in the National Football League, Joe Burrow, going to miss almost, it would appear, the entire regular season. Last night, Sunday Night Football, quite the dud. It was probably the only was it the only bad game Sunday? Probably a couple of bad games Sunday. This was probably the worst game of the day, unfortunately, last night. I fell asleep during this one. 22-6. Snoozer. The Falcons, just their defense dominated the Vikings. And everything the Vikings did right in their last game to beat the Bears, they did wrong in this one. 7 field goals by Falcons' new kicker, John Parker Romo. He replaced Young-Ho Koo, who didn't go to this game. And John Parker Romo didn't even know his teammates when he was interviewed after the game. He said, "Nice to meet you." Kind of crazy. Raheem Morris, after the game, very happy with the team's performance, unlike their performance the week before.
No, I think it just starts with me just being honest with you guys, open and honest, being transparent, telling you guys that we didn't play up to our standards last week. And when I say that to you guys, I reiterate that to our team. I reiterate that to our owner. I reiterate that to everybody that's involved in what we got to do. You know, there's no hiding behind curtains. There's no sugarcoating things with us. We just speak the truth, and that truth came to reality today when those guys came out and responded in a big way. And I knew they would. You know, we got a bunch of grown men up there. You know, you're talking about Jake Matthews. You're talking about Bergeron. You're talking about Chris Lindstrom being our leaders, along with Newsel. Obviously, Elijah stepped up. Man, those guys are grown men, and they got a lot of heart. They got a lot of character, and they want to come out and play well.
Obviously, very disappointing performance tonight. Really just starts with, obviously, our ability to take our week of preparation, even on a short week, and show up and play a lot better in all 3 phases. Got to coach better, specifically me. Our team will handle the adversity that is now right at our feet, and we've got to go back to work and improve immediately.
Eagles, meanwhile, keep the good times rolling, and the Chiefs have now lost 3 games in a row dating back to the Super Bowl last year. Wow. Defense led the way, 20-17 the final. Eagles were a slight favorite in this game, but of course this one was going back and forth for the majority of it. A very happy Nick Sirianni after the game, saying they did all the things the right way, and unfortunately for Patrick Mahomes, has never seen a losing streak like this.
Resiliency, playing for each other together, not wanting to let each other down, the process that they go through, just all the things, that the mental toughness that we have. It's just a bunch of good guys, good coaches, good players. And yeah, our job, especially, early in the season is, and what I've said constantly to the team, is find a way to win, take pride in winning any way that you possibly can, work to get better throughout the week, repeat.
Yeah, I think just after the first 2 weeks, you let games slip away. That we played two good football teams and made mistakes in big moments, stuff that we're not used to doing. But I think we're coming together as a team, man. I mean, when you deal with adversity, it's about how you deal with it. And obviously, this isn't how we wanted to start, but how are we going to respond? So I'm excited for the next few weeks to see who wants to be challenged and how we can get back and really get after it.
The early window turned into the late window with the Giants and Cowboys yesterday. Brandon Aubrey hit a 64-yard field goal to send the game to overtime. Cowboys end up beating the Giants 40-37. They did not cover the spread. Good news for the Cowboys, though. They get their win in the first 2 games. That's a good sign. Also, first win ever for head coach Brian Schottenheimer.
I was really good coming off the field. And then when Dak presented me, he and Jerry presented me with the game ball. That was pretty special for me. Cool way to win your first game. You'll remember it forever. But the words that Dak and the players said to me after the game is why it's so special. It's I expect the first of many. But I'll remember this one forever because of the fight of these guys, the way they didn't quit. They just kept believing. We always say give yourself a chance in the fourth quarter. I guess we had to go a little longer tonight, but we found a way to do it. And very, very special. But so proud of those young men, man. You talk about pro football and the ups and downs and the high lows and giving up big bombs, and then you got to go back out there. And some of the situational stuff we did was just incredible. What can I say about Brandon Aubrey? I mean, just, 4 field goals, 51, 44, 64. Would have been good from 70, and then the walk-off 46-yard kick. Yeah, so proud of those young men. The hard work that they've done. This is about them. This isn't about me. It's about them, and I'm just so blessed to be their head coach.
If that wasn't the wildest finish of the day, maybe Broncos-Colts was. 29-28. The Colts end up winning on a game-winning field goal, but the kicker missed a field goal before, and then there was a penalty. They moved him up, and then he ended up making the winner. It was a wild game. Colts are 2-0 on the season. Daniel Jones is their quarterback and is off to a really good start.
But, yeah, it was exciting. Big-time kick there by Spence, and good job by the guys up front. We got it down in there. Alec ran a big-time route on the shallow, created some separation, and then, big-time kick.
They played tight coverage today. I mean, you guys challenged them and won a lot of those matchups. What allowed you guys to have that success?
We got a lot of confidence in our guys and our guys to win in a lot of those matchups, and they did. It's a good secondary. We talked throughout the week. It's a good secondary. It's a good front. I mean, it's a good defense. We were confident with our guys going in that we'd stack up well. I think in a game like that, you're going to have some good, some bad, but you kind of just keep going, play the next play, and we won a lot of those situations today, and it was good to see.
The Seattle Seahawks go into Pittsburgh, win the game outright. Sam Darnold, 295 yards and 2 touchdowns. Seattle beats Pittsburgh 31-17 in this game. What a great performance it was from the Seattle defense, as actually there was their special teams, as the Steelers really muffed one there. Lamar Jackson throws 4 touchdown passes. The Ravens cruise past the Broncos 41-17. The Ravens were 12.5-point favorites, total 46.5 in that one. How about the Jets and Bills? A no contest in this one. Bills just took a big lead and didn't turn back. Josh Allen did exit the field with a broken nose, I guess, but came back and ended up playing. And also how Detroit Lions really wanted to show their former coach Ben Johnson something. 52 points. Detroit beat Chicago by a score of 52-21. All right, real quick, let's go to the rest of the finals. The Rams improved to 2-0. They beat the Saints 26-21. Saints are 0-2. Drake May, 3 touchdown passes. Patriots beat the Dolphins 33-27. And also Cam Ward had his home opener against the Rams spoiled in this one. And the Panthers come back, fall short. Cardinals hang on to win 27-22. I misspoke earlier. It was the 49ers beating the Saints yesterday, not the Rams. My bad. We'll be right back.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
He says, you can't get in the position Tiger, Rory, Justin Thomas. Those guys are this tall. You're never gonna be as flexible as them. You got a lot more leverage and like you got a lot of more moving parts than those dudes.
The Smiley Show. Only on SportsGrid.
I mean, I think so. You talk about how difficult it is to bring an expansion team into the league and have success in your first season. Like, that's fairly unheard of. And not only have success, but they're in the playoffs. So I think she certainly deserves to win Coach of the Year. There's a lot of different candidates that could potentially, you could make a case for them. But I think just with this being an expansion team and how difficult that is.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
I pitched today. It's like 5 in the morning. We hammer it. He tells everyone, listen, I'm telling you guys, Esteban Loaiza is in no condition to pitch tonight. We all hammer it. We bet against the Toronto Blue Jays. We even went to the game, Scott, even. Esteban Loaiza, word of no lie, bro. He threw 8 innings, a one-hit ball.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Let's bring in Vinny Iyer from Sporting News for the latest in the National Football League. And Vinny, great to have you back here on the show. So, last week, the second half was all Vikings against the Chicago Bears. J.J. McCarthy, huge game. Everyone really looking forward to this game on Sunday night. They're at home. Pretty much everything should be going their way. Falcons are good, but not great. And then you look at it and say, could McCarthy have played any worse? Boy, I mean, I hope for his sake that this is the worst game that he's going to play, because if not, it's going to be a long season for the Vikings.
Yeah, we learned that week one might be more about the Bears defense, just not being able to stop much in the comeback for the Vikings as the Lions put up a 50-burger on that same defense. And the Falcons, look, they invested a lot in their pass rush. It's a running joke that they can't get to the quarterback, but they did get to the quarterback last night, partly because they were holding the ball too much with J.J. McCarthy. I don't know if it was a rough day before with his child being born and he didn't get much sleep or something, but a lot of the throws were a little bit off and potential for a big game that I think he threw away. So this is going to be a bit of the roller coaster ride that the Vikings have early, because it's essentially a rookie quarterback that skipped over his rookie year. So again, it'll be interesting to see, because now you have him against the Bengals and Jake Browning, who was cut by the Vikings a few years ago to make room for the Bengals to sign him. So it's an interesting, intriguing game for both teams. Even though the Bengals are 2-0, they need to win every game they can without Joe Burrow.
They do. Michael Penix, by the way, not much better, honestly. 13 of 21, 135 yards in this game. It was really the Bijan Robinson show, as it should be for the Falcons all season long. This is something that they didn't do last year. Also, real quick before we move on, Falcons had 6 sacks and 4 turnovers. And I know that probably, Vinny, some fantasy folks are watching this thinking, wow, all right, I'm grabbing them this week. I don't know about that, right? A little bit of an anomaly. I did see them play against Tampa Bay the week before, but
Yeah.
really good performance for them.
Yeah, I think it's going to be is the offense they're playing kind of put together and functional. And look, the Vikings are going through some growing pains with their quarterback. So again, the Buccaneers were not. They were pretty solid with their offense. So again, I think you can play the Falcons a little bit more in the right matchups when they come along. Maybe the Panthers game, that type of deal, where you look at okay, they can get to the quarterback. But again, the Atlanta pass rush. Look, this is like a season for them to get to the quarterback 6 times. So I think they're excited about their young players. I think the Falcons, again, are going to be up and down. So all these teams with young quarterbacks, you saw it with Bo Nix, you've seen that with Drake May, you've seen these with these 2 young quarterbacks. It's going to be unpredictable in some of these games, even when you think everything is lining up well.
I feel like John Browning for the Bengals did an okay job when he was playing for Joe Burrow a couple of years ago. So they're 1-1 now with this win. And beating Jacksonville, I thought that Jacksonville, honestly, Vinny may have given this one away a little bit. I was watching this one kind of closely. Some questionable play calling, I think, to say the least, at the end of the game. But I think the Bengals could probably still surf around 500 to the point when Burrow would come back. But I don't know, Vinny, that they can count on that based on this injury that I'm hearing about. Maybe you feel differently than me, but man, if this is genuinely 3 months, it doesn't put him back until like week 16 or 17. It'd be over by then.
Yeah, the biggest thing is going to be this next stretch. If they fall apart here, I mean, they have some brutal games coming up. They've got the Vikings and the Lions, the Broncos, and Packers, right? If they totally fall apart in this group against some pretty good defenses overall, right? I think that's a problem, right? If they drop to 2-4, I think they need to get to 3-3 with the stretch. And then they have a little bit of an easier stretch. They do get teams like the Bears later in the season. They get the Cardinals at home. They get the Dolphins as well. So there's some easy games in their schedule, but they have to work through some tough ones at first. And look, Pittsburgh doesn't look like world beaters at this point, so they need to hang in there, win those kind of toss-up games, and then kind of survive. Because right now, look, the AFC's in a funk right now. You basically trust maybe the Bills and the Ravens. And then after that, maybe the Chargers next ahead of the Chiefs. I don't know where you're going. And then the AFC South, look, it's anyone's division with the Colts. So those 3 wild cards are going to be rather wide open for some team to get there. Look, it may only take 9-8, 8-9. Last time Browning was in there, they went 4-3 when he started, and they finished 9-8. So there's a potential of them maybe putting it together, but really takes a team effort, especially their defense, has to continue to show a lot more improvement than it did last year.
Definitely so. All right, so now let's go to the Broncos and Colts. And Vinny, we were talking off the air. Vinny thinks that maybe the Colts are thus far the biggest surprise of the season, and I would concur. And I would also say this does not feel like a Saints situation of a 2-0 last year, and then they completely fell apart. I mean, I'm just thinking more, Vinny, last 2 years, Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones. I mean, man, maybe the Giants are just that bad because Daniel Jones looks really serviceable. I'm not saying he's a top 5 quarterback, but he made every big play that they needed him to make yesterday. And look, I know they got a little lucky at the end of the game, but I would feel this way even if they lost to Denver. They're playing good football.
Yeah, I think the bottom line is he's executing the offense. He's not trying to force things deep the way that Anthony Richardson is. He's not taking off and running at the first sign of trouble. He's playing with himself, and a big difference has been also having Tyler Warren, right? This guy seems uncoverable at tight end. His athleticism just a mismatch all over the field. So when you get a playmaker of that caliber, he's been their leading receiver in back-to-back games as a rookie, it's going to open things up. And then Jonathan Taylor looks like he's fully back, explosive, can make big plays in the passing game as well. So again, if you've got a running game and your offensive line is playing well, and it's credit to them, they lost some pieces there. They're playing well up front. Jones is well protected. He's executing. He's not trying to get too cute with the offense, where I think Anthony Richardson was just not sure what he was doing, trying to run around or throw deep, and that's not going to always work.
Do you have any position on either of these games tonight, Vinny? Bucks, Texans, Chargers, Raiders? Any position at all? It seems like tight lines on both.
Yeah, I think the Chargers, I mean, they made a statement in coming back to beat the Chiefs and then not blowing that lead, right? Now they got to prove it again out there on the road in Las Vegas. If they prove it again, I mean, you got to be inspired if you're the Chargers because Chiefs are 0-2, you're 2-0, so go with that. And then I also think the Texans must win for them. The Bucks could cause them problems with their front. So something to watch there as well.
All right, Vinny, enjoy the games tonight. 2 games on Monday Night Football. We'll be back and hit the Sports Grid sound off with some recaps. Vinny, thanks again for coming on the show.
Yep, thank you, Craig.
All right, we'll be back with the Sports Grid sound off. We'll hear what the Dolphins are thinking after losing another game.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
He says, you can't get in the position Tiger, Rory, Justin Thomas. Those guys are this tall. You're never gonna be as flexible as them. You got a lot more leverage and like you got a lot of more moving parts than those dudes.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire. If you're 0-2, is your season over in the NFL? Well, I guess we have to ask those questions about the Chicago Bears, Miami Dolphins, New Orleans Saints, Carolina Panthers. Meanwhile, the New York Jets didn't really show up this past Sunday. Let's hear from all the coaches involved in the games that I just mentioned with today's Sports Grid Sound Off. What a wild finish between the Dolphins and Patriots. A game that went right down to the end. It also included a punt return for a touchdown by the Dolphins, and the ensuing kickoff was returned by the Patriots for the touchdown as well. But that's not really the story. The story is the Dolphins, who a lot of people projected were going to have a bad year, are off to a bad start, which could lead to a bad year. So enthusiasm is not rampant in South Florida, and it doesn't appear to be either with head coach Mike McDaniel and a very confused quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa.
To win games, you have to win the game, not lose the game, honestly. And that is how you lose the game. You're moving the ball down the field. You're 1st and 10, and then you find yourself at 2nd and 20. That was critical.
I think, having some talks with Reek and whatnot, that if I do just don't think that I'm going to throw it 80 yards. Like, as you're running, just do your best to track it because you could potentially stop. That's what ended up happening on that play for Reek. And then with him and Waddle with those deeper outbreaking routes, just trying to help them get open while maneuvering, the corner in the flat.
All right, so the Dolphins are in bad shape. Are the Bears in any better shape? I'm not really sure based on what I've seen the last couple of weeks. Ben Johnson took over. He's supposed to be this offensive genius. He was in Detroit, but now he's gone to Chicago and he found out the hard way. It's a lot easier to be in Detroit than it is Chicago. Here's Ben Johnson on his return.
You know, these guys, I tell you, they're hurt. You know, it stinks. They fought the entire game. And, when you play a good team on the road and you have turnovers and you don't convert on fourth down and you give up explosive plays on defense, it can go sideways in a hurry. And that was really the name of the game. Offensively, we were able to move the ball a little bit in the first half, and then the turnovers and the lack of fourth down conversion bit us in the rear. And then, defense had more explosive plays than we wanted to going into the game. We knew that they were an explosive offense, and we had a plan, and we didn't contain those playmakers very well. The quarterback for them really got after us and made us hurt. I look at his numbers, and it looks like he had an outstanding day. Certainly felt that way on the sideline throughout. So, and then in the second half, you get behind by that much, and it becomes a throw-in game like that, and really just plays into their hands. So, penalties were still an issue for us. False starts, we had a couple of those. We had some holdings. Really hurt us. So,
I would think that the penalties were not just the reason why they lost this game. They gave up 52 points, Coach Johnson. You're not going to win many like that. All right, Jets back to square one. They were out of this game in the first 5 minutes. Buffalo went up 7-0. I believe it was 14-0. And then just from there, they dominated. So back to the drawing board after a really nice showing for the Jets in week one. Not so good in week two. Here's Aaron Glenn on fixing things by watching the tape.
When it comes to this game, very disappointing. Very disappointing. All three phases, to be honest with you. And I just told the players, first off, I got to take a look at myself. I want to take a look at every player, and I want to take a look at every coach. Right? There's no stone that won't go unturned, right, without figuring out the issue. But I do know this, and I told these guys this. I've been here before with two teams, in New Orleans and Detroit. The one thing that we're not going to do is we're not going to waver with not one bit. Not one bit. The brand that we say that we're going to play, right, we're going to play that type of game. Right, and our guys will get better. The only thing we have to do is get ready to go back to work, all right, on Wednesday, and we'll go from there. I do know that.
How would you assess Justin's performance?
Say it again?
Justin's performance, how would you
watch the tape?
How do you feel Tyrod did?
I got to watch the tape.
Take a couple more.
Do you have any sense on what went wrong with the run defense, 224 yards allowed?
I got to watch the tape.
All right, well, I guess I'll watch the tape after our show is over to figure out what went wrong here. Hopefully nothing. Coming up next here on NewsWire, good stuff from the coaches today. We'll hear from Jacob Kamiker of USA Today. We'll go over some of the results in the NFC West. The Rams are winning, the 49ers are winning, even the Seahawks are winning. Good division it's shaped up in the first couple of weeks of the season.
Sharpest football contest show in the land. The Las Vegas Football Contest Show focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
He says, you can't get in a position, Tiger, Rory, Justin Thomas, those guys are this tall. You're never gonna be as flexible as them. You got a lot more leverage and like you got a lot of more moving parts in those dudes.
The Smiley Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Let's bring in USA Today's Jacob Kamaker for the latest around the National Football League. Got some NFC West talk I see to get through. Jacob, great to have you back here on NewsWire. All right, so let's get started here. And man, the two wide receivers on the Rams certainly had a day against the Tennessee Titans, who are another one of those teams off to an 0-2 start. Rams beat the Titans 33-19 in the final, so they win and they cover the spread. But Jacob, clearly upgrading Devontae Adams over Cooper Kupp has made at least somewhat of a difference early on for Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, it's nice to see Devontae Adams, in this offense where he and Puka Nacua can work well together. And as you mentioned, he's an upgrade over Kupp at this point in his career. And I think for all the worry we had about Matthew Stafford's back going into the season, and believe me, that worry was warranted. You just never know when that's going to act up. I think we may have overlooked the type of upgrade that Adams would be to Kupp, because we saw Kupp play last year and he just didn't look like he was quite the same player. He's dealt with a lot of injuries in recent seasons, but Adams kind of has come in. He has a little bit fresher legs. Yeah, he's coming off some down years with the Raiders and the Jets, but now he's playing in a really, really good offense coached by Sean McVay. So him and Puka are going to work well off of each other. We saw that against the Titans, and I like the way that they were able to get Puka a little involved in the run game. He ripped off that big rushing touchdown. So if you can keep defenses off balance with those two receivers, the Rams are going to be a very good team. Again, so long as Matthew Stafford stays healthy and that back injury doesn't act up.
Yeah, I'm still skeptical, but 2-0 are the Rams. Adams 6 for 106 at a touchdown. Puka Nacua had a 45-yard rushing touchdown to begin the game, and then also caught 8 passes for 91 yards as well. And the Rams have now moved to plus 175 to win the NFC West. And their odds, as you see here, move down on the NFC and Super Bowl, meaning a little bit better, too. All right, so now let's go to the San Francisco 49ers, who needed everything that Mac Jones could provide to beat the Saints. I guess I'm a little surprised with that one, Jacob, and maybe the Saints aren't going to win any games, but maybe they're playing a little bit better. I think we'll find out this week. If I'm not mistaken, the Saints' first 2 games in that dome where they usually play well, and they did in the first 2 games. Now they're going to go on the road. 49ers get it done without Brock Purdy, without George Kittle. How did they do it?
Yeah, I think it was just a great game for Mac Jones overall. And one of the big mysteries since the 2021 NFL draft, right? Going into that draft, there were rumors that the 49ers were choosing between Trey Lance and Mac Jones. And they went with Lance because he had more physical upside and they could maybe develop him into a star. But Mac Jones always profiled as a great fit for Kyle Shanahan's offense. He may not have the biggest arm, but a hallmark of his skill set at Alabama was his ability to deliver the ball accurately and in rhythm. So in a quality offense with a lot of good weapons, he could find success. So with Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall available, he was able to kind of distribute the ball to those guys, able to avoid mistakes. Granted, again, the Saints aren't profiling as a particularly difficult opponent, but playing on the road in the Dome, like you said, is no easy task. And Kellen Moore, through 2 weeks, does have the Saints playing hard. So I came away impressed with Mac Jones. I don't know that this is going to be the tape that you look at and say, hey, this guy could be an NFL starter for sure or anything. But if you're looking at backup quarterbacks and you're saying, hey, I've got Kyle Shanahan as my coach, or I've got a Kevin O'Connell or Sean McVay type as my coach, and you're looking at Mac Jones, you're probably saying, this is a guy who can operate within the realm of this offense and find success. So, sometimes just having a backup quarterback is as simple as that. Do you have a guy who can find success in this offense? And Mac Jones fits the bill for the 49ers. So as long as Purdy's out, I think he keeps them afloat.
Yeah, I agree. And right now, thus far, so good. Same could be said for Sam Darnold in a game where the Seattle Seahawks very impressively go on the road and win in Pittsburgh. Now, of course, Steelers made some mistakes along the way, very specifically their young rookie Johnson fielding the ball, not knowing that you can't do that anymore in this stage of the NFL. They kick it short. You got to field it, let it go, went in the end zone. That's why the score was 31-17 and not 24-17. But a good win, I think, for Seattle. A little alarming that the Steelers defense thus far, Jacob, has played like this.
Yeah, the Steelers defense has been surprisingly porous through 2 games. And with all due respect to Justin Fields and Sam Darnold, it's not like they're playing world beaters at quarterback. We saw Buffalo absolutely humble Fields and the Jets after they were thrashed by Lamar Jackson. So, that didn't profile as a great matchup for them against Fields, yet they were able to stop him. And Sam Darnold in week 1 against the 49ers didn't look all that great either. So the Steelers definitely have some concerns on the defensive side of the ball. I think the thing I'm most impressed with about Seattle, their defense just finds ways to get pressure on opposing quarterbacks. That's kind of why I had this game circled as hey, the Seahawks might be able to pull off this upset, because against the Jets, Aaron Rodgers was sacked 4 times despite not being pressured too often. The Seahawks generate a lot more pressure, and they were able to, lo and behold, do that again against Rodgers, who isn't very mobile at this stage of his career. So if the Seahawks can keep doing that, they're going to be a pesky team to beat in these matchups.
How about the NFC West in general? Do you think Seattle's made more of a case here? All the teams playing well. Arizona almost gave that game away, by the way, against Carolina. That was a crazy ending, too. But this division in particular, Jacob, comes out of yesterday better than any other division in the NFL. 49ers, Rams, Cardinals, Seattle, all winners.
Yeah, I had no idea what to make of this division coming into the season because of Stafford's injury, and we didn't know who was going to be playing for San Francisco because they have so many injuries. But right now, I have to say, I think the Rams are probably the team to beat. They have the best roster, and as long as Matthew Stafford stays healthy, they're probably going to be the team that should rule that division. The Cardinals were kind of my sleeper coming into the season. I know they're 2-0, but they have only barely beaten the Saints and Panthers, a couple of weaker NFC South foes, but they have a weak schedule, Arizona. So I would keep an eye on them staying sort of in this division race or wild card race longer than people might be anticipating. But I still think this is a wide open division. So if you're looking at those odds and the Seahawks are 9-1 to win it, I get why they're in last, but that doesn't seem all too bad to me. Like, I think any of these teams could emerge from this division. It's really going to depend on how these divisional matchups all go.
As far as Joe Burrow is concerned, that's the big story, Jacob, around the NFL. And this is not the first time that the Bengals have lost Joe Burrow to a significant injury. But I guess early on in the season, there's some decisions to be made. You're hearing, they should go get Kirk Cousins. They should get another backup. They're going to have to do something. I don't know what. But the Bengals lose. Bengals lose Burrow, win the game. Lamar Jackson, no one even talking about him, 4 touchdowns against the Browns. It's like the MVP of the league. No one even talks about. It's kind of funny. But let's dive in here. What do you think the Bengals should do? Do you think they just roll with Browning here? He's going to end up throwing, 15 touchdowns, 15 interceptions before the end of the year? I know who he reminds me of a little, like Favre. He kind of reminds me of him, where he's going to make some big plays, going to make some big mistakes.
Yeah, he does have that kind of gunslinger mentality when he's not afraid to throw the ball where it needs to go. It's just not always going to be caught by his own teammates. His interception percentage for his career is about 3.6%, which is very high for an NFL quarterback. You don't want a number in the 3s if you can help it there. But I do think they're going to stick with Browning, at least for now. They're certainly going to add another quarterback to this room. It's just a matter of whether or not they're going to sign someone in free agency, someone they've had in the past, like a Desmond Ridder or Logan Woodside, just to add depth to their backfield or their quarterback room. Or if they're going to go and say, hey, Tyler Huntley's on the Ravens practice squad, let's bring him in as a backup. Or maybe they look at Jameis Winston with the Giants and say, hey, why don't we trade for him? Like, he can be our backup, and if Browning struggles, he'll provide us a little bit of starting experience there. I know Cousins is going to be mentioned, but I just can't imagine the Bengals kind of rolling with the amount of money they'd have to pay him for the rest of the season in addition to Burrow.
Eagles 2-0, Chiefs 0-2. Take a look at the next 5 games for the Chiefs here, Jacob. You tell me what their record is after they get out of this. You assume they'll beat the Giants, but I don't play that whole, a win and a loss game. But beyond that, reasonably speaking, it looks to me like they should win 3 of these next 5. And as long as they do that, their record is going to be 3-4. So, I mean, it should be an okay season, I still think, for the Chiefs, Jacob. It's just they're not going to win like 12, 13 games this year.
Yeah, they're still going to be in the playoff hunt. They're still probably going to win a couple of those games you don't expect them to, and they'll get hot. They still have Patrick Mahomes. They still have Andy Reid. They will be okay.
I agree. Jacob, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. We'll take a quick time out. When we come back next, Donnie Rightside from the early lines with us here on News.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
It was nice to see that even though they couldn't follow the same blueprint as last season, or just the way that everyone thought their offense was going to run this year, Josh Jacobs struggled and Jordan Love stepped up. And if you're a Packer fan, that's what you were hoping to see, is that in the moments where you can't rely on the run, can the quarterback that you invested a lot of money into, now draft capital, putting weapons around him, rise to the occasion, and he did.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
When the game is on the line and provide the kill shot to knock out an opponent. It's like they're afraid to put the Buffalo Bills away. The safer call was giving it to Derrick Henry and giving it to Lamar Jackson on the ground, as opposed to putting it in your MVP's hands and allowing him to make plays in the passing attack. I just don't understand it.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
They trade Marina Mabry, then they turn around, and then obviously they fire Teresa Weatherspoon, and it's been a hot mess. You go and, draft Cardozo and Reese, basically 2 of the same player, meaning bigs that can't step out and shoot. So it's a little bit of a clown show when you talk about the Chicago Sky.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Donnie Rightside is with us from the early line. On this show, it's like the later line, I guess. We could rename this segment if we want to, the next 15 minutes with Donnie. Yeah. Donnie's getting ready for a little Philadelphia Phillies postseason ball. How are you going to mix in Eagles, Phillies? Do you root for the Flyers too? Is it all things Philadelphia? I'm not positive on that.
Yeah, let me tell you something about the Flyers. The Flyers used to be number 1 on my list, even over the Eagles and the Philadelphia Phillies. But since we don't play hockey anymore in the city of Philadelphia, they've fallen all the way down the Richter scale to behind the Philadelphia 76ers in number 4th place for me. Yeah.
All right, so I will not bring up that sore subject ever again. All right, so let's start off with, Donnie, the AFC East. So I think I've learned a couple of things going into this season with the Dolphins and the Patriots, okay? I'm going to say that I thought the Dolphins weren't going to be as bad as a lot of people thought, and I think I'm going to be wrong on that. They are. I also said that I thought that the Patriots were not going to be as good as everybody thought, and I think I'm right on that one too. So I think it's somewhere in the middle. Both teams aren't very good. Both teams tried to give this game to the other team, but in the end, what happened? I think, honestly, Donnie, Patriots got a little lucky. 100-yard kickoff return. When does that happen in the NFL? Does it even happen once a weekend? Probably not. I don't like either team going forward. How about you?
No, and by the way, it was dueling kick returns. We're like, ooh, show me you got one.
Right.
Oh, okay, we'll return the favor. So momentum gone in a flash for the Miami Dolphins. And it seems like it comes down to the same things. Tua Tagovailoa, 315 yards. You like that. 2 touchdowns. You like that. Hey, Tyreek Hill, first time he had a long-distance connection with his quarterback in over a year for 47 yards. But they still lost the football game because why? They're just not mentally tough. Interception at the end of the game, not able to compete at 0-2. Now you're talking about the coach being fired. I'm not high on the Dolphins. Was never high, Craig, coming into the season. But for the Patriots, this was more of a look-see to me. Love the head coaching hire. Spent a lot of money in free agency. Intriguing team that I thought they would beat the Vegas Raiders opening day. Now, let's just say they did. 1-0 moves to 2-0, but they didn't. But they're still 1-1. A work in process. The one thing I did like is Drake May was very efficient in that performance yesterday. 19 of 23, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a passer rating of 137. I like that about the Patriots. I think that's the most important thing on the Patriots season is making sure Drake May is right for your future quarterback.
Definitely so. I guess my disappointment for the Patriots would be like, there's only one way the Dolphins beat you these days. That's throwing it right over the middle to these guys. And they just allowed that to happen like over and over and over and over again. It was like really weird. All right. So Bills, Jets, man, Bills are as, dynamic as any team in the NFL. Back-to-back weeks of 30-plus points, Donnie. They win 33-10. All things positive for Buffalo. They get Miami. They're probably going to be 3-0 after Thursday. Where do the Jets go from here?
The Jets are a mess from here. And also where they go a quarterback at this point, because when you are looking at the quarterback position, it's like, hey, Justin Fields, look what he did week number 1. He was so bad in week number 2, and he's injured, Craig. And now that we know in the NFL, it used to be like, hey, you get a concussion, you'll be fine by Wednesday. That's not the case anymore. So we tell him it's going to go to Tyrod Taylor. We're still not going to know about our quarterback situation. So for me, when I look at the Jets season, it was just about bringing in that foundation. But that was as bad a performance as you can get coming off a game where it's like, we think the Steelers are good. Oh, look, the Jets almost beat them. And then you see the Steelers get beat by double digits at home against Seattle. And then Buffalo comes to town after an unbelievable high-energy, full comeback effort. Like, this might be a good chance for the Jets to get them. Ed Oliver's down. They got torn apart that entire game. So for Jets fans who can never have nice things, yeah, you're not going to have any nice things the rest of the way, apparently.
Was there any getting ahead of this line for Thursday? Bills, Dolphins, Dolphins minus 12.5. We're going to be a few days away from this. I'm trying to think it through here. Usually I feel like there's no steam on the favorite going into Thursday. So maybe this does go down a little, 12, maybe 11.5. That's a lot of numbers there. 49.5, the total in this one. Laying these kind of points in the NFL always scares me, but if there's one team that can do it, it's Buffalo.
It does. And also, it's a microcosm of what we looked at this week. It's like, ooh, Cleveland should have beat Cincinnati. They're going on the road, 11.5, 12.5 point number. I'm like, be wary of that line because we know what the Ravens can do when they're right, and the Ravens were really right yesterday. Here's the issue, Craig, right? You're talking about a Miami Dolphins team that's not coming in with a clear headspace. Everybody's walking on eggshells. Is Tyreek Hill going to get traded? Is Tua the quarterback of the future? Is Mike McDaniel going to make it even to week 5 at this point? Never a good recipe for going on the road on a short work week into a red-hot Buffalo Bills team that, quite frankly, Craig, didn't have to expend a lot of energy taking care of the New York Jets. And also understand this, it wasn't as if the New York Jets play on the West Coast. Like, oh, they took a 5-hour plane ride home. That's a quick trip home. They have the extreme rest advantage in this one. This has all the makings of, we're going to beat the brakes off you and just end it right now, which means coach is gone, quarterback in the future, Tyreek Hill's checked out. That's what has the makings for me in this one. Division game, I get it, 12.5 points. You never want to bet against it. But couldn't you see like 17-3 at the half, and it's like, away we go here with Buffalo.
Wow. If that happens, that could be the end. I mean, the owner did fire Joe Philbin after 3 losses several years ago, too, when they were 0-3. So it could, and 10 days before the next game, it does kind of build toward that. All right, so rookies in the NFL, very much a mixed bag thus far. Cam Ward made some incredible throws. He had his moments, 175 and a touchdown, just not enough, I don't think, to around him. Maybe he could be rookie of the year, but still some more to go here. Travis Hunter, if he's going to play both positions, he can be a superstar, but he's not going to be great at one thing. I think that we've learned that. Judkins looked good in his first start, but I got to tell you, Luke, throw these odds up here for rookie of the year. I mean, how is it not Tyler Warren, man? This guy's incredible, Donnie. Like, he catches every single thing thrown his way. Daniel Jones is looking at him. I mean, he didn't even catch some balls that he threw to him. Plus 480. I guess if Igbuka goes crazy tonight, then he'll be the favorite. But to me, Tyler Warren is just staring at me on that screen.
I got to tell you, too, like coming into the draft, it's like, I know who the best tight end in football is. It's Warren. And all of a sudden, oh, let's go Colston Loveland to the Bears. You notice what Colston Loveland's doing? Yeah, nobody notices what he's doing because he's doing absolutely nothing. Warren is always that wild card. He did so many things for Penn State that you knew it would translate to the NFL. And who would have thought that the Indianapolis Colts of all teams haven't punted yet this season because of how good they are on offense? Running game's working, offensive line's working, play calling's working, quarterback's working, wideouts, and even a tight end right now. I'm with you. Warren could catch a lot of steam. Why can't he catch 85 plus balls? Why can't he have a Brock, Bowers type of season, right? Why can't he?
Yeah, if Genty rushes for 50 yards tonight and nothing else, Tyler Warren's going to be the favorite to win the Rookie of the Year after tonight. Any position tonight on either game? Bucks, Texans, Chargers, Raiders. We got 2 games. We have 30 seconds left. Do you like anything, Donnie, from this?
I actually like the under in the first game with Tampa Bay and Houston. I think both of those teams have really good defensive ends to put the pressure on, and it's a high leverage situation for the Texans. They're just looking to win this football game. I think they win it, but I think that game stays under that low total of around 42.5, Craig.
Hopefully Donnie will stay up to watch one of these games tonight.
One. Yeah.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
It was nice to see that even though they couldn't follow the same blueprint as last season or just the way that everyone thought their offense was going to run this year, Josh Jacobs struggled and Jordan Love stepped up. And if you're a Packer fan, that's what you were hoping to see, is that in the moments where you can't rely on the run, can the quarterback that you invested a lot of money into, now draft capital, putting weapons around him, rise to the occasion, and he did.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
When the game is on the line and provide the kill shot to knock out an opponent. It's like they're afraid to put the Buffalo Bills away. The safer call was giving it to Derrick Henry and giving it to Lamar Jackson on the ground, as opposed to putting it in your MVP's hands and allowing him to make plays in the passing attack. I just don't understand it.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
They trade Marina Mabry, then they turn around, and then obviously they fire Teresa Weatherspoon, and it's been a hot mess. You go and, draft Cardozo and Reese, basically 2 of the same player, meaning bigs that can't step out and shoot. So it's a little bit of a clown show when you talk about the Chicago Sky.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Great games this weekend in college football. Of course, Texas A&M got their payback against Notre Dame this weekend, and also it would appear that Clemson is on the outside looking in for the college football playoff after their loss to Georgia Tech. Let's get the very latest on the new top 25 poll and check in on who is in and who is out and who could potentially be in the future. Here's Rich Sermonillo as we discuss the AP Top 25 poll. As you see there on your screen, number 1, number 2, number 3 stays the same. Miami, Georgia, Oregon, all teams moving up. Let's get to Rich. He's got a full recap of this weekend's college football games.
Hey, Craig, week 3 in college football is in the books. Amazing weekend of SEC games, but I'm going to start in the ACC. Biggest disappointment so far of September has got to be Clemson. Tigers 1-2. I thought they were going to coast through the ACC this year. Not only did they lose to LSU at home in the opener, but over the weekend could not beat Georgia Tech. Good Georgia Tech team, but Clemson is the more talented program. I think we're at a point right now that the mystique at Clemson is gone. The mystique for Dabo is gone. This program is really struggling. 1-2 right now. Now third in terms of ACC odds. The new favorite, the Miami Hurricanes. And I was down on Miami. I think I'll always be down on Mario Cristobal for his in-game coaching decisions. But so far, so good for the Canes. I mean, Carson Beck, fully healthy, looks fantastic. I think he's a legit Heisman contender. I expected them, Craig, to beat USF over the weekend. Did not expect them to beat the Bulls as badly as they did. Offense looks good. Defense looks good. Miami now plus 150. Florida State potentially some value, plus 650. So I love what's happening in the ACC. Old school Florida State, Miami contending for ACC titles. Now, SEC, phenomenal games. Georgia comes back to beat Tennessee. Alabama rebounding from their opening day loss to Florida State, beats Wisconsin. I'm going to focus quickly on Tennessee. Listen, I think the Vols are further ahead than I expected with Joey Aguiar at quarterback. But by God, when you have a chance to finally beat Georgia at home, a Georgia team that is a little bit unbalanced right now, you got to pull through. That's 9 straight losses for Tennessee against their rival Georgia. Could have won it with the kicker late in regulation, didn't do it. Tennessee is going to pay for this for the rest of the season. The one that really stood out for me, Craig, how about Ole Miss? I mean, I'll admit, I know a lot about college football. Never heard of Trinidad Chambliss, a backup quarterback for Ole Miss. Comes off the bench. Austin Simmons was hurt. Chambliss played for D2 Ferris State last year, and he winds up leading the Rebels to a 41-35 victory over Arkansas. The reason why I bring this up is Lane Kiffin is just a quarterback guru. I mean, nobody does it better than he does. Florida, I think, is going to be looking for a coach very soon. Gators lose to LSU. Billy Napier is on his final legs here at Florida. Can the Gators get Lane Kiffin? Coaching carousel starting to spin. We already have some coaches that have been fired. Brent Pry at Virginia Tech, UCLA's Deshaun Foster. Keep an eye on Lane Kiffin. If he wants to win a national championship, might want to consider that Florida job when it opens up.
Mississippi, I don't know if you guys caught this game over the weekend, but Mississippi opened up as an 11-point favorite and then announced just before game time. I thought they weren't allowed to do this in the SEC, that their quarterback was not going to play in the game. By the way, their backup quarterback played very well. That line went down to about 3.5, 4 by the time that Mississippi kicked off against Arkansas in a wild game that went back and forth. By the way, in case you missed some other results in college football over the weekend, Notre Dame misses an extra point at the end of the game. And then Texas A&M comes back, scores a touchdown. What's the final? A lot of missed kicks. Am I wrong about this? A lot of missed kicks, missed extra points. 41-40. This thing flew over the total. Meanwhile, Georgia Tech, as we suspected here on the show, kicked not a 55-yard field goal, but beat Clemson. Man, Clemson has not looked good. 24-21 the final. And by the way, I don't know if you saw Dabo Swinney after the game. This guy, he's having a hard time. All right, Virginia Tech, speaking of having a hard time, they lose to, who they lose to? Was it James Madison that they lost to over the weekend? Was that the final there? I forget. Old Dominion, not James Madison. They lost to James Madison once before. That was years ago. Old Dominion beats Virginia Tech over the weekend. Brent Pry loses his job. The Hokies are 0-3, and also Deshaun Foster, who had a really hard time dealing with the media in the offseason, saying that we're not going to allow you guys to watch practice and stuff. I don't know what this guy was thinking. Great running back in the NFL, really bad head coach. 43-10 loss to Utah. He's fired after 0-3 as well. Adam Kaplan.
Sharpest football contest show in the land. The Las Vegas Football Contest Show focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
He says, you can't get in a position, Tiger, Rory, Justin Thomas, those guys are this tall. You're never gonna be as flexible as them. You got a lot more leverage and like you got a lot of more moving parts in those dudes.
The Smiley Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Biggest story in sports today is the Cincinnati Bengals injury to their starting quarterback, Joe Burrow, who would appear to be lost for the season. But let's get more insight on that from Adam Kaplan. And look, I'm very hesitant with injuries to make these sort of projections here. But when I hear 3 months, Adam, that means to me that if the Bengals aren't in this thing in the end, they're not going to bring him back. I mean, this is what sports is. You don't just bring a guy back for the heck of it, especially when you've invested $50 million. So that being said, you'll correct me if I'm wrong on that. And also tell me if you think that the Bengals are going to roll with Jake Browning, who I've, kind of dubbed here a little bit Farvish, 50-yard touchdown, pick goes the other way for a touchdown, 20-yard touchdown, throws it right in the gut of the other player. You could do worse at backup, I guess. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say.
All right, so Craig, a lot to unpack here. So yeah, it's a grade 3 ligament tear. Okay, there are only 3 grades. Grade 1 is minor, 2 to 3 weeks. Again, it's turf toe, and people have to understand, turf toe is when you actually stretch or tear ligaments in your toe. Like a high ankle sprain, you actually stretch or tear ligaments in your ankle. It's way worse than it sounds. So with a grade 3 tear, which is complete, he has to have surgery. That's why he couldn't come back before 3 months. There's really no way that when you completely tear it and you have to have surgery, you can come back before 3 months. So I would agree with your assessment. I actually was thinking the same thing. Now, we'll get to Jake Browning in a minute because I like him a little bit better than you do. And I covering the league, I know a lot about him. He definitely changed my mind over time. But with Burrow now, you have to look at it, Craig. Look at the series of injuries he's had. He's had the wrist injury, multi-ligament knee injury, ACL, other ligaments, this and others. It's tough, man. When you don't have a quality backup in the National Football League, you can't win. Now, let's get to Jake Browning. And I want to add some fantasy element to this. Jake Browning surprised me a couple years ago. The guy was a journeyman. He was with the Vikings, who ironically they play this week. He didn't make it. He was an undrafted free agent in 2019. And then I saw him in a preseason with the Bengals. I was like, "What? Wow, this guy's a little bit better than I thought." And then 2 years ago, Craig, he was 4-3 as a starter. He's a little bit of a gunslinger. He's not going to wow you with arm strength, but he's a timing and rhythm West Coast offensive quarterback. What does that mean? Get out of your hands quickly to the pass targets. So for fantasy, I'm not getting rid of Jamar Chase unless somebody wants to give me the King's ransom.
Yeah.
They've played together for a number of years. They know each other. T. Higgins, you saw yesterday. I understand now if you're losing 2 points per interception or more. My keeper league was 3, by the way. That's a lot. But the guy could put numbers up, and we know how talented their group is at receiver. They're decent at tight end. Now I know their offensive line's still a problem, by the way. There's no doubt it's a problem.
Yeah.
But Browning kind of knows how to navigate the pocket. Yesterday, Craig, you got to understand though. You know this from covering the league. It's really hard to come off the bench in a game like that. Was back and forth where you need to throw to win. Very difficult. I get it. He turned the ball over 3 times, but you know what? In the end, they were able to win with him, and that's the key point here.
Yeah, I think so. And again, there's be some ups, some downs. I know their schedule is tough moving forward. All right, so the Cowboys have signed an old favorite here. Jadeveon Clowney is back again on another team. He'll be an edge rusher there for Dallas. Hey, they're 1-1. Clowney's not going to be Micah Parsons, but third down and 6, he's going to run on the field. That's pretty much the story. I don't think he's going to be there on first down, stopping any running backs anytime soon. But what does he add to the Cowboys?
You know what? Here's the thing about Clowney. He was a little bit overrated. That's the word around the league as a pass rusher. He was never quite as good as people thought he would be. Good player, lots of injuries in his career. Still going strong. Turns 33 in February. But talking with the Panthers, they cut him earlier this year. They knew he could still play, but they really couldn't justify keep paying him and then not develop younger players. So they cut bait. And here's an opportunity for him to revive his career, maybe push for a playoff spot. I know it's going to be tough for them, but that was an incredible game, an incredible win for the Cowboys. They had him in last week for a visit. And Clowney, by the way, one thing, and I'll add to what you said, one of the things that clubs liked about him, when you play your nickel package, he can move inside at D tackle. He's super long. He's very physical. Now, when you look at it, of course, we know about the Parsons trade. They're mostly very young. Other than Dante Fowler, they're very young at edge rush. You get another veteran in there. He will play the run. He still could play. He's probably got a couple years left in him. But it's interesting, Craig. Had they not won that game, I'm not saying they would have signed Clowney. They certainly would have. But the season would have looked a lot different if they been 0-2. And that game, Craig, and like the Denver game, which to me, I picked Denver to cover that number. I mean, you can't be serious. That was one of the strangest endings we've seen. And quite frankly, Craig, in a week 2, where week 1, most of the games went under. Look at how many overs we had in week 2.
Yeah. Yeah, and the games were really exciting down the finish too,
Yeah.
in a lot of those games here, including the Giants and Cowboys. And we saw Cam Little of the Jaguars kick a 70-yard field goal in the preseason. Brian Schottenheimer, I guess, said that they would have tried a 70. Look, we're gonna have the record broken this year. Is it because that they're able to hold the footballs all week or something like that? I heard that was like a rule change where the kickers can now kick the field goals they're going to kick in the game during the week. Is that part of it?
Well, I know they've adjusted the rules over the years, but this kid Brandon Aubrey, who was in I think the UFL, he's got right now the strongest leg in the National Football League. He's the best kicker. Like, he's incredible. Where would the Cowboys be without him? He's phenomenal. You saw what happened in the Chiefs game. Jake Elliott, I think 3 out of his 4 field goal attempts have been over 50 yards. He's back. He struggled with a minor issue last year, but he's back. And the kicking, and look, the ball also moves pretty well in the warm weather. We should also note that. But yeah, Dallas kind of, I hate to say save their season, but listen, Craig, you go back to 1990. If you lose your first 2 games, if you're 0-2, majority of the time you're not making the playoffs, and that's the key to the Dallas winning that game. And quite frankly, an NFC that's not that strong. Let's call it like it is here.
All right, so I want to talk about some injury situations in the NFL, and then we'll go back to some games here because I do want to talk about that. But the Cardinals, who I thought nearly, was it the refs that gave that game away at the end, or was it the Cardinals? My gosh, dude, Adam, that finish yesterday, the Cardinals and Panthers, it was like, game is over, nope, penalty. Game is over, nope, another penalty. Game is over. It was insane. But I guess I didn't notice that they had some key injuries there, so we're going to have to watch this.
Yeah, it's just, if you're the Cardinals, this is actually a big matchup. They play at the Niners. Both teams are 2-0. If you're looking at the spread, well, you got to know if you like the Cardinals. Okay, I know they were everyone's fashionable favorite to go over their future number this season, but if you're looking at them and Monty Ossenford, I give their GM credit, Monty Ossenford. He finally addressed the cornerback position the last 2 years. He drafted Will Johnson from Michigan this year, Max Melton last year, also in the second round. Garrett Williams, he inherited, who's a decent player. All 3 got hurt. Melton, Williams, and Johnson did not finish the game. They got hurt. That's a concern. And I know the Niners are more of a running team, but you saw they made some big plays. Juwan Jennings showed up yesterday playing through a shoulder injury. So that's a problem for me. I could not take the Cardinals in this game whatsoever until we learn about who's going to be available for them at the quarterback position.
Now, Falcons also, I guess I missed this one. A.J. Terrell last night got hurt in the win against the Vikings. And where do the Falcons kind of go from there?
That's not good. Yeah, because he had a hamstring injury, and he is like it at corner. They're really weak at corner overall. He's a phenomenal football player. This, to me, for the Falcons, who, by the way, play at the Panthers this Sunday, This would be problematic if he can't play. And Ted McMillan, by the way, for the Panthers, you talk about that Panthers game against the Cardinals. They were dead in the water at the first half. Bryce Young all of a sudden got hot. I mean, he was feeling it in the second half. And Ted McMillan had a really good game for the Panthers there. So that would be problematic. That's another team. If A.J. Terrell does not play, I could not be on the Falcons this week. It would be because he is it at corner for them.
Yeah, and they play at the Panthers, and the Panthers, as we just mentioned, came all the way back almost to beat, of course, this past week. They looked like they had a shot to beat Arizona due to the flags at the end of the game. Steelers also with a key injury before we break.
Yeah, Alex Highsmith, this is not good. High ankle sprain. Nick Herbig, who they love, talking to the Steelers, are really high on him. With Highsmith likely out multiple weeks, this is a problem. Good football player, but Nick Herbig, I'm telling you, is a really good player. He's in his third year. His brother Nate Herbig actually retired earlier this year. He was an offensive lineman, but good football player. This is a big injury. And what a crazy loss for the Steelers in a wild Sunday in the NFL.
Let's take a quick break. We're going to come back. I want to ask you about some key decisions made in some of the NFL games yesterday.
Yeah.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
He says, you can't get in a position, Tiger, Rory, Justin Thomas, those guys are this tall. You're never gonna be as flexible as them. You got a lot more leverage and like you got a lot of more moving parts than those dudes.
The Smiley Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Let's dive around the National Football League with our SportsGrid insider, Adam Kaplan, and a couple of things I want to get to here. Let's start off, Adam, with the Philadelphia Eagles, who defensively played a great game against the Kansas City Chiefs. They just, the thing is that it felt like they just kept giving it back and giving it back and giving it back, just kind of muddling their way through the game. But that was enough to beat this version of the Kansas City Chiefs. But I would guess that the Eagles are going to have to really push the foot down a little bit more on some of their offensive play calling. And I mean, to win a game in the NFL, eventually you're going to have to score 30 points, right?
Exactly. With the Rams coming in, the Eagles know the Rams very, very well. They played them in a number of years. You saw them play them last year. But let's get to that game yesterday. And because I know here in Philly, talk shows are going crazy because the fans, I don't want to say they're spoiled. They understand like this. Mm-hmm. This is a well-coached team with a lot of good players on offense. And Jalen Hurts, to his credit, wasn't bailing the pocket yesterday, but he wouldn't throw the football. Hold on to it. The passing game, he barely got over 100 yards. Yet they were able to win. Barkley looked better running the football. But the key thing is, where is the explosiveness with their passing game? it's not so much about the volume of passes. It's when they pass and when Hurts drops back, where the big plays. Now, the one thing I'll say about Hurts is, let's be honest about it. He's now working with Kevin Patullo, who's worked with, this is his 5th year together, that the two guys have worked together. Hurts, Craig, has had now 6 play callers in 5 years. Most people forget Doug Peterson was his first play caller in 2020. So he's had a lot of play callers that they're just not there yet with a passing game. But because if we recall, right, 2022 Hurts was incredible. But since then, the passing game has regressed, 23 and 24, and so far in 25. Every once in a while, it looks good. Like last year, the first game in Brazil against Green Bay, it was phenomenal, but it took them 2 months to get it right after that. It does not look good so far. With Matthew Stafford and that high-powered passing game coming here to Philly on Sunday, you're going to have to score. I would agree with your assessment. Now, the Rams did lose the killer Weatherspoon. It's going to be out probably a couple months with the clavicle injury. That's a bad one. And they're not very deep. The Rams are not deep at corner at all. But I'll be interested to see. We know it starts with Barkley in the running game. We get it, and Hurts is part of it. But the thing here is they've got to be way more successful getting the ball to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. And remember, Dallas Goedert, their tight end, did not play due to a knee injury yesterday.
Now, one thing that I thought was interesting in the post game yesterday, I don't know if you caught this, Adam, but I'll illustrate it and then we can get deeper into it, was the ending of Jacksonville-Cincinnati, where Liam Cohen, the head coach of the Jaguars, with a 3-point lead, had a chance to kick a field goal to make it a 6-point lead, but instead went for it on 4th down and 5. That's the longest that anybody in the NFL went for a 4th down yesterday. And he ended up Lawrence threw a pass right to Brian Thomas, should have caught it, should have been a 1st down. Maybe Jacksonville scores, maybe they win the game. But, the Monday morning quarterbackers are like, you just kick that field goal there and you make Cincinnati have to score a touchdown to win. So Cohen after the game said, I'm going to play the analytics. Analytics said to go for it. And that's what we're hearing a lot of in the NFL. You just can't talk these coaches out of it.
No, it's interesting. So the analytical data on when to go for it and not, the Eagles used that in 2017, better than anyone probably in the history of the National Football League. In fact, a lot of teams have done that. That was 8 years ago. A lot of teams are doing it now with the chart. Even if you don't believe in certain data, a lot of the coaches, like you were alluding to, are married to that chart, or they have a guy in the coach's booth and it's the guy's job to tell them when to go for it and when not to go for it. Look, you nailed it, though. See, you could Monday morning quarterback it, but the bottom line is, A, the chart said to go for it, and B, Lawrence made the right pass. Thomas has got to catch the football. So I have no problem with it. There's certain times, though, when clubs go for it inside their own 30, or Andy Reid did it yesterday when they went for it and they didn't execute, and Reid took responsibility for it. But if the chart says to do it, you can't worry about what the media or the fans think. You just got to be right. You got to execute, and that's what happened yesterday. They did not.
The Colts are 2-0. I said earlier in the show, this doesn't feel like a Saints 2-0 from last year. It feels like the Colts could end up winning 9-10 games. I think so. So this is 2 years in a row where a player has left the Giants and at least initially looks way better than he did with the Giants, which is Saquon Barkley last year. I mean, I got to tell you, Daniel Jones looks like a serviceable quarterback in the NFL, which means that's a starting quarterback in the NFL. So are we to feel better about the Colts, worse about the Giants, or somewhere in between? I'm not really sure here, but I'm very troubled now. And I'm happy for Daniel Jones, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I thought that was the right choice over Richardson. But am I now even more worried about what's going on with the Giants here, that they couldn't get anything serviceable out of him? And I know Russell Wilson had a great day yesterday.
Exactly.
But Jones was a guy that they drafted very high.
They did, but not this regime. This regime did extend Jones's contract, and unfortunately didn't work out. Also had an ACL injury years ago. So here's the deal with Daniel Jones. You have to eliminate the bonehead plays, the bonehead decisions with the football. That's always been his MO. He'll implode mentally, like he'll make the wrong read, make the bad throw. But so far, and they've thrown the football, like they've been a volume passing team, and he's done a great job. That game yesterday, it's another one on a crazy Sunday. Denver seemingly had the game under control. I'll admit it. I had the Broncos in the number when I pick like 6 or 7 games a week. I just see how I do. I lost that one. I thought for sure Denver was going to close the game. In fact, the number dropped. I think it might have closed at 1.5 or 2. I thought they're better. I still think they are, but I give Daniel Jones credit. But again, it's only 2 games. let's see how they play on the road. That's when you really tell how good a football team is.
2 Monday night games tonight, Adam. Let's end there. Buccaneers and Houston Texans. And then, of course, tonight, I think maybe the team that we'll learn the most about, if that's fair to say, would be the Chargers. Because in a general year in the NFL, the Chargers would look really good and then not look really good. The next week we go, okay, that's just the Chargers. So I don't really have an opinion on the first game, but I think we'll learn more about LA tonight than any other team in the NFL.
The thing about the Chargers, Craig, is under Harbaugh, they're not choking games like they used to with Brandon Staley and Anthony Lynn. And they're clearly a better team. Not the most talented team, but they're very well coached. Now, in the Bucs game, the Bucs have shown the ability to win games on the road. I believe they're going to win this game. They're really well coached. They're a really good football team. Baker Mayfield, one of the all-time stories, looked like he was headed for Journeymansville, but, man, he's found a home in Tampa Bay. Now, I want to see how Josh Grisard, their young offensive coordinator, does. This is a good test for him on the road here.
All right, Adam. Great stuff, as always. We'll catch up later in the week. Thanks again.
You got it. Thanks, man.
All right. We will cap it off next with a home run hit to Anthony Rizzo. Did you miss that over the weekend? We'll catch you up next.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long, covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.
He says, you can't get in the position Tiger, Rory, Justin Thomas. Those guys are this tall. You're never gonna be as flexible as them. You got a lot more leverage and like you got a lot of more moving parts than those dudes.
The Smiley Show. Only on SportsGrid.
As you would imagine, so much football on a Monday that sometimes we forget that there's other stuff going on, right? Like Major League Baseball, we're getting toward the postseason here, a couple of weeks. We had a very big boxing match on Netflix on Saturday night, in case you missed that. And also, if you weren't watching very closely in one National Football game, you may have missed something thrown on the field. I'll detail that and a whole lot more in this edition of Last Licks. Okay, I'm not sure how to explain this, but it was my choice to do it here on the show, so I'm going to have to get through this, figure out how to say it. All right. So there was a game this weekend, Sunday, 1 o'clock Eastern, between the Jacksonville Jaguars and Cincinnati Bengals. There was a play on the field that involved a touchdown, but it also involved the CBS Sports broadcast putting up the flag graphic because it appeared that a flag was thrown on the play, but it was not. In fact, It was a green toy that you would say could be described as an adult toy. I don't know how much further I can go into this here on the show. I probably could go all the way, but I'm not going to. So it's one of those things that maybe you would purchase in an adult sex store. That fair to say? I think that's as far as I'm going to go with that. But anyway, a fan threw one of those on the field. This has been happening in the WNBA games too, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, fan throws it on the field. CBS says, yep, flag on the play. It was not a flag. It was not yellow, by the way. It was green. And some very unfortunate fan decided to throw this on the field. And it's not a good look for the NFL. I think I came as clear. Do you guys get what I'm saying with that? Is everybody kind of clear? Do I have to go further? Hope not. Let's go to Major League Baseball. Let's go to Wrigley Field. You may have heard last weekend Anthony Rizzo decided that he wanted to retire. He did play for the Yankees a couple of years ago, and now he says that he's retiring as a member of the Chicago Cubs. So he shows up for the game, and not only does he show up for the game, he decides to spend his final time at Wrigley Field as he signs that one-day contract to retire as a member of the Cubs in the bleachers, which is what a lot of these former Cubs do. So Rizzo is in the bleachers, and this is during the game. A ball is hit by a member of the Cubs. It goes out to the outfield. It's a home run. Rizzo is there. It goes right to him, goes off his hand, and into the stands. Literally, you cannot make this up. On the day that he is there sitting in the bleachers, he has a home run hit right at him, and he ends up dropping it. I know he joked around and said, that's why I'm not playing anymore, but you can't make that stuff up. That's kind of crazy. Rizzo, a great guy, by the way, lives not far from me in Parkland, very, very active in the community as far as cancer research and things of that nature. So really happy to see him get to retire as a member of the Cubs. One of the critical players, I think, on that squad, de facto captain, so to speak, when the Cubs ended up breaking that 100-year streak to win the World Series several years ago. Okay, so Saturday night, Netflix got their money's worth with this fight between Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford. In fact, we talked about this on Friday, that Canelo was a huge favorite going into this fight. I'm not sure how that was the case, because Crawford not only won the fight, but won it very convincingly. A lot of times when you see a decision in a fight, you see a lot of people say that it was rigged and it should have been the other boxer that ended up winning the fight. You did not see a lot of that. It was a domination from Crawford, who now basically has the claim of not just beating Canelo, but maybe the very best boxer in the world going right now. He improved to 42-0. It was, I think, a huge win for Netflix, a huge win for the streaming category. And I think that if there's not a rematch, I think that Crawford could have a nice 4 or 5 year run, maybe being a champion in the division that he fights in. As far as Canelo is concerned, look, he's been so good for so long, almost 10 years. This was bound to happen, but great job, I think, by everybody involved. And by the way, the undercard, not bad either. Caught a couple of those fights as well on Saturday night. All right, that'll do it for our show today. Thanks to all of our guests here on the program. We got Vinny Iyer from Sporting News, Jacob Kamaker from USA Today, Donnie Rightside from the Early Line, and our SportsGrid insider was Adam Kaplan. Also, don't forget tonight, Game Time Decisions and Early Line taking you right up until 2 games tonight on Monday Night Football. We've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Houston Texans, where I believe right now Houston is a slight favorite, 2.5 points over on the FanDuel Sportsbook. And then tonight, the Los Angeles Chargers will see if they can improve to 2-0, or will it be the Raiders who surprised the Patriots last week. The Raiders are 3-point dogs. The total is 46.5. Also, thanks to our director, Luke, for my producer, Frank. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day here on SportsGrid. Also, don't forget, you can catch the Craig Carton Show each and every day just before my show here on NewsWire. But keep it locked right here, because we've got plenty of programming leading you up until the Monday Night Football. See, it's for our Tuesday edition of NewsWire at noon Eastern. Have a great day, everyone.
The sharpest.
Marina Mabry. Then they turn around, and then obviously they fire Teresa Weatherspoon, and it's been a hot mess. You go and, draft Cardozo and Reese, basically two of the same player, meaning bigs that can't step out and shoot. So it's a little bit of a clown show when you talk about the Chicago Sky.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.